Let's talk about running backs that you need to be starting in week 5 of fantasy football. As always, we're going to break this up into 3 different categories: your smash starts, your solid starts, and then your high risk, high reward starts. 3 categories, 9 total players. We're not going to be talking about Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. All the guys on this list are obvious must starts. Let's jump right into it, starting with the high risk, high reward category. And the first guy up is Zach Charbonnet, who returned from a foot injury in week 4. And while he was outsnapped by Kenneth Walker 52% to 45%, Charbonnet was still seeing all of the high leverage touches. 63% of the short yardage snaps, 78% of the long down and distance snaps, 100% of the 2-minute offense, resulting in 12 carries for 39 yards. Not great. He did find the end zone, should have had 2 rushing touchdowns if it wasn't for that holding call on JSN, but nonetheless, this is going to continue to be a very frustrating backfield, especially if you are a Kenneth Walker owner. It's going to be extremely annoying because Zach Charbonnet is not going away. It's going to be a 1A, 1B situation in Seattle for the rest of the year. And yeah, it's unfortunate for Walker because he's obviously the more talented player. But Zach is being utilized in all the spots that are great for fantasy: pass down situations, goal line, red zone. And Charbonnet is definitely a flex-worthy option moving forward. I'd honestly be trying to sell high on Kenneth Walker at this point because he's just not going to be that workhorse back that we wanted him to be. Well, I was always on the Zach Charbonnet side, but Walker's just not going to be the workhorse in this backfield this year, and partially because this Seattle coaching staff loves Charbonnet. So if you can sell Walker high right now, I'd be trying to get out. Also because Kenneth Walker is so injury prone. If he gets injured at some point, then he could be out for the year or out for an extended period of time. I'd just be trying to get out of the Walker business. You can still sell him high on name value, but this backfield is going to be messy. I still think Zach Charbonnet is going to be valuable in fantasy though because of the roles that he has that we just talked about. And in week 5, if you really need a running back to throw into your flex, you're dealing with an injury, Tampa Bay is not a defense that really scares you. You can run on them. So Charbonnet, high risk, but a high reward guy because he could definitely fall in the end zone yet again. All right, moving on to our next guy, RJ Harvey. We loved Harvey on this channel all offseason. We talked him up. We thought he was going to be the RB1 a lot sooner, and it just hasn't happened yet because Dobbins is playing out of his mind. RJ put up his best game of his NFL career in week 4. He showed off that vision, explosiveness that we loved from him in college. 14 carries, 58 yards, 4 receptions, 40 yards, touchdown, 19.8 fantasy points, 49 yards after contact, 42% of the running back snaps. Dobbins and Harvey were rotating series. There were every other. So it was Dobbins on a series, then it was Harvey. That was encouraging for RJ because it just seemed like he was never getting on the field the first 3 games. 36 snaps went to JK, 33 snaps for Harvey. Granted, it was a blowout game, so I don't know if this is going to be different, if it's a more competitive game. Maybe Dobbins is in more. Hopefully not. Hopefully this is a sign of things to come because Harvey deserves to be on the football field. And the issue, though, for Harvey that we mentioned already is that Dobbins is playing really good football right now. Like, Denver doesn't have a reason to show off their new toy, their new explosive running back, because JK is just, he's dominating. 16 carries, 101 yards in week 4, 6.3 yards per carry. But if Harvey continues to carve out a role for himself, continues to earn more work in this offense, it could be very valuable for fantasy. We know his big playmaking ability, his explosiveness, his speed, his versatility. Like, I have no problem after what we saw last week. If it's a sign of things to come, which I think it is, I have no problem throwing Harvey into my flex against the Philadelphia Eagles, who somehow are surprisingly not good at stopping opposing running backs, as they are allowing the 10th most fantasy points to running backs this season. So Harvey, if he's on your team, hopefully you didn't drop him. Hopefully you're patient with him. He is flex worthy this week. Obviously, high risk, high reward, right? But if you are desperate, plug him in. Moving on to our next guy, another rookie running back who just hasn't put it all together yet, who has started slow. It's been frustrating for fantasy owners, and it's Travion Henderson, who I think he's going to be chilling on this high-risk, high-reward list for the remainder of the season until his usage increases drastically, because I don't know what's going on in New England. Like, 29% snap share in week 4 for Henderson, along with a depressing 30% of the rush attempts It's just not happening for the rookie. Stevenson is playing well. He's not playing as good as Dobbins is. Like, Henderson should have a bigger role, but just like RJ, he had a nice performance in week 4, 7 carries for 32 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 2 receptions for 14 yards, 12.6 fantasy points. Nothing to go crazy over, but he hasn't done much of anything until now. And he did score his first NFL touchdown, so you like to see that. Even after a week where Stevenson fumbled twice in week 3, like, you would have thought that like this was going to be Trayvon's backfield, or they were going to give him more of an opportunity, but no. His coaching staff just loves Ramondre. Ramondre was still the guy in this New England backfield last week, 58% of the snaps. One has to think, though, that Trayvon's role in this offense is going to continue to grow. He's the most talented back that they have. Extremely explosive. Think Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, maybe a level down from both of those guys, but you get the point. This is a really good football player. New England's offense is looking pretty good. Drake May looks incredible. So I think Henderson's time is coming, and he has a juicy matchup in week 5 against the Buffalo Bills, who have allowed 6 yards per carry and 22.4 PPR fantasy points per game to running backs. So I don't blame you if you keep him on your bench, but if you're dealing with buys, you're dealing with injuries, and you need a guy to plug in, look no further than Henderson, who is going to explode sooner rather than later. All right, moving on to our smash starts section of this video. First guy up is Woody Marks. Hopefully you woke up this morning and Mr. Marks was on your roster at the bottom of your bench, just waiting to be plugged into your starting lineup, because I think Marks is going to be the Texans' workhorse back for the remainder of the year. He very well could be the next Bucky Irving, if you will. He has league winner written all over him, and he had a season-high 58% of snaps in week 4, took full advantage, 17 carries, 69 yards, found the end zone, and we know he's a very strong receiving back. He got it down through the air as well, 4 receptions, 50 yards, another touchdown, 27.9 fantasy points, 36% target per route run rate, 90% of the long down and distance snaps. He's going to be the featured back in this offense. He's going to literally do it all. And on top of that, he saw all the red zone touches. That is absolutely huge, and scored the first red zone touchdown for the Texans of the season. If that tells you how bad this offense has been, it's been atrocious. But I think that's kind of a good thing for Marks in a sense, from the standpoint that they need him on offense. Outside of Nico Collins, they don't have much. They don't have many weapons. They don't have many pass catchers. I think you could look at Woody as the number 2 target in this passing attack, on top of being the starting running back. Like, he's going to get so much weekly volume, and the fact that he can catch the ball, like, that is a dream situation, especially if you're in a PPR league, because that's how you score a lot of fantasy points. Receptions are worth more than carries, and I think he's going to continue to make you feel good if you dropped all $100 of your fab to get him on your roster, because the matchup in week 5 is beautiful against a banged up Baltimore Ravens defense, who are allowing the most yards and fantasy points to running backs this season. So if you got Marks, if you spent your number 1 waiver claim, all your fab money, it was worth it. I think he's going to be dominant for the rest of the year. You got yourself a locked-in top 24 back at worst for the remainder of the fantasy season. All right, moving on to our next guy, another rookie who is balling right now, and it's Quinshon Judkins. This dude is insane. It doesn't matter the matchup. It doesn't matter the situation. All this dude does is produce. I mean, week 3 against the Packers didn't matter. Put up great numbers, tough run defense. And then last week against the Lions, another tough run defense. Still put up really good fantasy numbers. And what I think is even more impressive is Quinshon produced in a negative game script against the Lions. The Browns were trailing, and it didn't matter. He still got 25 opportunities, 21 carries, 82 yards, found the end zone, 4 receptions, 33 yards, 21.5 fantasy points. He's the RB11 in fantasy over the last 2 weeks, averaging 19 fantasy points per game. All that volume that the Browns gave Judkins in a negative game script is kind of wild to me. And what does it tell us? It tells us that Quinshon is essentially matchup proof, that the Browns' focal point on offense is him. And if they're losing, if they're trailing, if they're up big, it doesn't matter. But I do think the Browns are going to be in most games because their defense is so good. They're not going to play the Detroit Lions every single week. So the defense is going to keep them in games, which means they're going to continue to run the football. And even if they don't, they proved to us last week, Judkins is still going to get fed. I expect another big game for the rookie in week 5 against the Minnesota Vikings defense that just gave up 100 total yards and 2 touchdowns to a guy named Kenneth Gainwell. Like, come on. The Vikings defense all of a sudden is not good, like at least against the run, as they rank 26th in rushing yards allowed. So if you picked up Judkins after what was a terrible start to the year for him, to his NFL career, or you drafted him, kudos to you, because this dude is going to be a monster for the rest of the year. All right, last guy in this section is Breece Hall, who has been solid so far this year. He hasn't been tremendous outside of week 1. He's been pretty average, but with Braylon Allen now moving to IR due to that MCL sprain, Hall is going to get fed in this offense. He's going to see a ton of work. He doesn't have to deal with splitting touches with Braylon Allen or losing goal line snaps to Braylon Allen like he did last week, even though Allen ended up fumbling. But he's also looked much better with Justin Fields returning back to the lineup, which we kind of figured would happen because Fields, that threat to run, confuses defenses, makes them respect Fields, which opens up lanes for Breece. 14 carries, 81 yards in week 4, 5 receptions for 30 yards, 16.1 fantasy points. This is still a really good player that's just been on bad Jets offenses. Like, he ranks 2nd in explosive run rate this year. I think he's going to turn it around. I do think better days are ahead for Breece. He's going to have one of those big blow-up games sooner rather than later because he gets it done on the ground. He's utilized in the passing game. Justin Fields checks it down more than people realize, and he plays the Dallas Cowboys this week, who have allowed 123 rushing yards per game and 6.4 yards per play, and just gave up 31.7 fantasy points to Josh Jacobs last week. No, Breece Hall right now is not to the caliber that Jacobs is, but I think Breece is going to have his best game of the year. He's going to crush the Cowboys on the ground, through the air, score his first touchdown of the season as well. So don't be discouraged. If you have Breece, plug him in your lineup, and I think he has a big game. All right, let's move on to the solid starts section of this video. First guy up is Javonte Williams. What kind of world are we living in right now? Like, Williams has been on a heater to begin the year and is one of the biggest surprises in fantasy by far this season. Like, this man is the RB7 right now, tied for 2nd in the NFL in rushing touchdowns, 5th in rushing yards, double-digit fantasy points in every single game this year, 5 yards per carry. Like, we knew Javonte was a good player. Pre-injury, Javonte was insane. And while he doesn't look like pre-injury Williams, he's benefiting from being on a really good offense, behind a really good offensive line that can move the football, that's in scoring position often, that needs him. They don't have anyone in the running game outside of him. He is their workhorse, and he's taken full advantage. I mean, another strong performance last week against a strong Green Bay Packers run defense that did lose their defensive tackle at some point during the game, so that kind of opened it up for Williams. But regardless, he's been so good. 20 carries, 85 yards, a touchdown last week, 3 receptions, 15 yards, 19 fantasy points, and he ranks 6th in lowest stuff rate, 8th in yards after contact per attempt, 19th in explosive run rate. Javonte is locked into your starting lineup for the rest of the way and should have no problem putting up solid production against the Jets defense that you can run on. All right, next guy on this list who we love here on this channel, or at least I do, it's Cam Skattman, who saw a hefty workload in week 4, 27 total touches, almost found the end zone, didn't have a phenomenal day, but the volume is what we're focusing on here. Like, he is going to be their offense moving forward with Malik Neighbors now done for the year with the torn ACL. Skattman is going to be seeing a ton of volume each and every week. Unfortunately, with Neighbors hurt, the ceiling of this offense goes down. The threat to throw the football is not as high, which means defenses can stack the box against Skattman and Dart, which you don't love. But I think Cam is a really talented player that should thrive on volume, pass down work. I think his touchdown upside is still crazy. And you saw the mobility of Jackson Dart in his first NFL start, 10 carries, 54 yards, a touchdown. I think Dart is going to open up running lanes for the Skatt Man, who doesn't even need a lane. Like, this dude he just plows through defenders. Like, you just give him a little crease and he will take full advantage of it. And while Cam didn't do tremendous in the box score last week, he's been really good this year, as PFF has him ranked as the 4th best rookie through the first 4 weeks, and 82.3% of his yards have come after contact. That's not surprising at all. He's also the NFL's highest graded running back, ranking in the top 3 in both rushing and receiving grades. Like, Scattaboo is going to be tremendous for fantasy, not only this week, but for the rest of the year because of everything that we talked about. Unfortunately, Neighbors is gone, but even when Tracy comes back, like, Scattaboo is not giving the starting job back up. He is their identity on offense with Dart. He is going to be a volume monster. We love that for fantasy football, and I do think he's going to put up a lot of fantasy points this season and should get it done in week 5 against the Saints defense that's allowing the 9th most fantasy points to running backs this season. And the last guy on this list, a guy that a lot of people probably aren't thinking about a ton yet, but he needs to be on here because I think he's going to have a big role in week 5. And that's Rachaad White, because we heard Bucky Irving is dealing with a foot ankle injury. He's very questionable for week 5. And if he misses, Rachaad White will be the featured back for the Bucs. You should also be picking up Sean Tucker because we saw what he did last year in a limited role. Tucker will be involved as well, but White, I would assume, would see the lion's share of the touches in week 5 if Irving is out. I mean, in 2023, Rachaad White was tremendous before Bucky Irving was drafted, as he averaged 15.4 fantasy points per game. He was the RB4 overall that year, 64 receptions, over 1,500 total yards. This is a dynamic, versatile back that would be a starter on a lot of other NFL teams. He has a 3-down skill set. And even if Bucky does gut it out, let's say he does play this week, I still think Rachaad White is definitely flex worthy because Irving probably won't be at 100%. I think we see a lot of Rachaad. I think Sean Tucker is mixed in, so pick him up if he is available. White should perform in this game, whether Bucky misses or not. I think Irving is going to be out, so get Rachaad White on your team if he is on the waiver wire somehow. Even in a tougher matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, I really like White to have a big day with or without Bucky Irving in the lineup. That's all I have for you guys today. I really appreciate each and every one of you. We will have the wide receiver stardom video coming out tomorrow. If you like what we're doing here, if you took away something from the video, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, share it with your friends. It would mean a lot to me, and I'll see you in the next one.